Hello there, welcome to another episode of World of Tanks with Gainy Titan. We have Malinovka in the winter mode, and we are very much a tier 5 battle and very much a heavy tank battle. We have one light tank in each team. The enemy do not have a tank destroyer. They have a medium tank, we have a tank destroyer, and 3 artillery on both sides, which is pretty artillery heavy. Very low on the scouting department, and this can make this map quite tricky. I'm going to pretty much head for the hill as normal. It's what I normally do in this map, and normally it's kind of what the team does, unless they don't head for the hill at all. But this game is actually unusual in that a significant proportion of our team goes straight up the frozen lake, and that is unusual, and it's actually quite successful on this occasion. And I think it is a manoeuvre that would be quite successful in similar circumstances again, particularly now it's done by heavy tanks this time. I think it's something that would be normally better than by medium tanks, but simply because the enemy don't have any medium tanks or tank destroyers, and very few enemy tanks go towards the centre of the map. They don't go to the normal camping spots on the northern edge of the lake there along the D line, D4, D5. The enemy scout, well, what he does isn't entirely stupid, but he does push too far. I mean, he'd be better off finding a spot in the middle of the field and camping there until he was spotted, rather than going all the way down to the village and getting destroyed. But then our scout is doing similarly foolish things. He's going up here and he's staying on the hill. I mean, again, he'd be far more valuable to our team in the centre of the field, especially with the heavy tanks pushing across the lake right now. If that scout was over there at F5, he'd be spotting the guys in the centre of the map and on the back of the field, you know, back around D1, E1, C1, that area, that area in the south of the cap circle. And he'd be thus very valuable to the team in the early game, whereas just coming up here against heavy tanks and trying to snipe at them, not the most useful and productive use of his time. Now, one of our guys has pushed into the heavy tank, the enemy heavy tank at D5, and 2 more are pushing around the corner into the edge of the lake towards the cap circle, and they managed to pick up on the artillery. So there's 3 or 4 enemy tanks then over on the western side of the map against 2 defenders. Now the 2 defenders are probably going to lose, but by the time that battle will be decided, this thing will be well over. The game will be pretty much decided. I'm being super cautious here, because if you push forward and expose yourself to fire from more than 1 tank, and particularly, okay, there's less artillery now, because we managed to get 2 of the enemy artillery already, probably because of that push through the centre. So I have, again, I'm just, just enough to get a shot in and get shots into the weak spots. The Bogatar there is pushing forward, and he's taking fire from 2 different directions, and probably from a 3rd tank further back. He can't handle that, like, it's just too much. So he gets wiped out. And it's a similar thing with tanks that push forward, so that T14's coming out now, and he's coming out sideways on to me. So we just take him out. Okay, we don't finish him, somebody else does the privilege of finishing him, but this enemy Churchill's now making the same mistake, because he's rushing forward into the guns with these 2 enemy tanks. That tank destroyer that tried to slip past the low ground alongside us here on the hill didn't make it. He got out into a position where he was being shot at from the rear and has actually been wiped out. But we've now taken the hill, we've taken the centre of the map, we've got a guy in the edge of the cap circle, and we should be able to dominate this map. The enemy tanks on the western side of the map have actually left it too late to come back, because they're outnumbered at this stage, and they're going to be crossing open ground, where we're providing them with cover from, well, I'll be able to do it shortly, and provide the guy in the cap circle with cover. Now the guy in the cap circle should be prepared to retreat as soon as enemy tanks start coming to bear on him. One of our forward guys has come back to defend the cap, as has the other heavy tank that was accompanying me up the hill. He's pulled it back as well and turned around to defend the cap. But I don't think there was need for the 2 of them to do it. One of them would have done. But I suppose it's no harm. It's not going to make a huge difference to the game. Now, I'm not close enough to spot these enemy tanks that were spotted in the middle of the field just yet. But I should be in a position shortly. There they are. Or at least there's one of them. And here's the other one. And we start putting fire in now. It's long range against very, very strongly armoured tanks. And see, the Churchill and the cap circle should be really pulling out. Because he's taking flanking fire as well as fire from the KV-1S in front of him. If he had pulled back into the lower ground inside in the lake, he'd be still spotting enemy tanks for us. For the artillery and from myself. And there's another KV-1S there and he's pulling behind the building. I think the Churchill's just been killed. The guy that was in the cap circle. So this KV-1S is the remaining threat up north, and the other one of the enemy tanks that went down the western side of the map has now reached the edge of our cap circle. But you see, he's up against a heavy tank and supported by 2 artillery. So as long as those 2 artillery support in the rear rather than the forward position, I think the rear is safe, and there's more than enough of us in the forward position to handle the situation without artillery support, although the second heavy tank at F5 is probably out of position at the moment. He's not in a good spot to shoot anybody from. However, the enemy are now down to only 1 tank and he's around the building, and my biggest problem is that I just can't get the angle on him at the moment. I don't want to get too close either because I should be able to outspot him, and as long as he can't see me, well, I'm safe enough. Would he take me one shot? He might. There's a fairly decent gun on that KV-1S. Accuracy is questionable, but I should be able to produce quite a big DPM. Now he is trying to fire back at me, shooting in the direction of my tracers and things, but I have been targeted now. And finally, it's over, and we've wiped out all the enemy attacking tanks. So, how do we do, should we say? We got a victory, and we lost money because we fired mostly APCR at the start. It was a daily double, so we get a good bit of experience, and we got 1400 damage. Got a first class mastery, with 20 actual penetrations, and we came number 1 by experience. One of the other allied tanks, one of the Churchill 3s, did pretty well for himself as well, over 1000 damage. Only one of the enemy team had over 1000 damage. It was a Bogatar. Don't know which one it was. So that was that's the final result. I hope you found the video interesting and you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like, thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please give the channel a subscription. I'll catch you all soon. Bye for now.